Hey everyone, this is Mr. Aynesworth, and we're in Integrated here, Integrated 1 that is, Chapter 3, Section 4, and we're going to go through how to do some two-step equations here. Nothing more than what we did last time, just a couple steps this time, okay? We call them two-step equations because they involve two different operations. What I want you to do before we get started though is to get out your drill sheet, okay? Drill number 1 on fractions and basic integers. I showed you all kinds of non-traditional techniques in here, so get out that, have it off to the side by side with your lesson right here. Also, I want you to take out a red pen. All right, I want you to show the steps in red. So show the main step that we're talking about in red. So I have do that, and also show all the side work. Okay, show all side work, and you'll know what I mean in a minute here when I start showing it with you. Okay, so show all side work. So let's get started right here. Get your red pens out, get your drill sheet out, like I said, drill 1 with fractions and basics, and have all your work out there side by side so I can refer to that at any time. Alright, let's start off with this one here. We have 4 times x plus 2 and 1/3 equals 8. Let's take it off to the right side, right small, because it's kind of a small space over here. Okay, and you also want to show your side work. So leave room, draw this little vertical line here. We're going to do all our side work over here. And by that I mean we're going to do all our arithmetic over here. So if we add or subtract, multiply fractions, do whatever it takes, we do it over here. Bring the results back on the left. Now this involves two operations, 4 times x and then plus 2 and 1/3. And what we're going to do is we're always going to add the opposite first. Okay? We're going to add the opposite first. Add the opposite first. Okay? So I see plus 2 and 1/3 here. I'm going to add the opposite of that, which is negative 2 and 1/3 to both sides. Or you can think of it as subtracting 2 and 1/3 to both sides. So I could write it as add or subtract first. Add the opposite is basically the same thing. Okay? Okay? So I'll put it right here, add, okay, or subtract, whatever the inverse is. Okay, whatever's given. So I'm going to add 2 and 1/3 to both sides. Or you can think of it as minus 2 and 1/3 to both sides. Notice I did that in red. Opposites always cancel to 0. Let me write that down. Opposites, okay, cancel to 0. Cancel to 0 right here. That's why we put 0 right up here at the top. 0. 2 and 1/3 minus 2 and 1/3 is 0. We say they cancel to 0. Bring down the 4x here. And we've got 4x equals 8 minus 2 and 1/3. And of course you can borrow here from the 8 and write this as 7 3/3 minus 2 and 1/3 and do it the old-fashioned way. In fact, we should probably do that. But the way that I taught you here in the drill sheet, problems numbers 1, 2, and 3, is simply subtract the whole number and the fraction and work from left to right. This method here doesn't require any common denominators at all. Okay, so we're going to take 8 minus 2 and 1/3 and write it as 8 minus 2 minus 1/3, because basically you're subtracting not just 2, but 2 and then subtract 1/3 more. From left to right we have 8 minus 2 is 6, minus 1/3 means that we have less than 6, because if you take something away from 6 you can't have 6 remaining. You got to have under 6, alright? So we put a 5 here, and if we take away one part out of 3, then 2 parts out of 3 remain. Okay? Now the way you did it in grade school, you took 8 minus 2 and 1/3. You borrowed 1 from the 8 and write this as 7 3/3. Then you subtract it. 7 minus 2 is 5. 3/3 minus 1/3 is 2/3. So this is the old way, okay, and this is the new way. Okay, I don't care how you do it, you get the same number, right? Okay, but you decide. Okay, so let's bring the result over here. We got 4x equals 5 2/3, and now I got to do the inverse of multiplying. This is 4 times x, and the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So step number 2 is multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1/4. Okay, you can multiply by the reciprocal or divide. So multiply by the reciprocal. This technique is used a lot. Multiply by the reciprocal, or in this case you could think divide. Okay, however you want to think about it, it's the same thing. Okay, because your teachers back in 4th grade said change division problems to multiplication by the reciprocal. Okay? So let's do that. Now you could write it like this. Divide by 4, divide by 4. Okay? Or you can multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 4, which is 1/4. It's a little bit faster, typically. Okay? Now this obviously is 1 here, and you get x equals something over here, and we got to figure out what 5 2/3 divided by 4. So here we go. So we do the side work over here. So 5 2/3 divided by 4 equals, well, let me see, change it to improper. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So 17/3 times the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal here, which is 1/4. And then you multiply. 17 times 1 is 17. 3 times 4 is 12. So you get 17/12. Okay, let me change that. And it's a little bit hard to read right here. So it's 17/12. Okay, here we go. So 17/12, which equals, all right, 1 and 5/12. So I did all of this right down here. Okay. Okay, let's try another one here. And then what I did with my lesson here is I tried to give you a wide variety of problems here to try with different techniques, different operations, different ways of doing things. And then the next set in the classwork following this right here, I just changed the numbers and have you do the same thing for practice. All right, so open this, when we're done with this, you can open up side by side and do your classwork and refer back to your notes, basically problem by problem. Okay? All right, so let's work on B here. We've got 2 times the quantity, 3x minus 7 equals 16. There are 2 ways to do this, and one way is to distribute through the 2. Okay, that's how you were taught probably in Algebra 1. So we can do that if you like. So we have 2 times 3x is 6x, minus 2 times 7, 14. That equals 16. Here I want to add the opposite. So add 14 here, add 14, just like in step 1 up here. And what do you get? You get 6x equals 16 plus 14 is 30. And it should be clear that 6 times 5 is 30, so x has to be 5. Okay? Divide both sides by 6 right here. The other way to do it, so I'm going to put or, I'm going to write down 2 times 3x minus 7 equals 16 again, is to divide by 2 first. And I want to show this to you because a lot of people don't know this is possible. You know, this is 2 times the quantity here, and the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So if you like, you could divide first. Okay? So we have 3x here minus 7 equals 8. Then you can add the 7, and you get 3x equals 15 now. And since 3 times 5 is 15, x has to be 5. Notice same answer here. 2 different ways to do it. And, you know, I tell you what, the experienced mathematician knows all different ways to solve the same equation. Those that are good and really good will be able to solve it multiple ways, not just one way. So challenge yourself and try it both ways and practice both ways to get good. Okay, now in this next one here, you got x divided by 5, not x over 5, but x divided by 5 minus 2 equals 8. Okay, we add the opposite first. Okay, I see a minus 2 here, so I think plus 2. The inverse here, add the opposite. So what do you get? You get these cancel to 0 here, and you get x divided by 5 equals 10. And since 50 divided by 5 is 10, the answer has to be 50. But algebraically, how do you show that? So you think, okay, I see division here. And we know the inverse of dividing by 5 is multiplying by 5. It's multiplying by the reciprocal again. Okay? Cancel and show your division here. That's 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times x is x here. And then you get x equals 10 times 5, or 50. Okay? Now you could have multiplied by 5 first. I'll show you another way. X divided by 5 minus 2 equals 8. You could multiply through by 5 and multiply by 5 first. Both sides. So distribute, distribute, and distribute. Okay, multiply both sides of the equation by 5. No, I shouldn't have shown it that way. Well, let's see here. Nah, I don't want to show that way. So you know what, I'm going to take that back. Okay. So let me put the original equation right there. I want to multiply both sides by 5. So here's on the left, That's on the right. And I got to distribute here. So here we go. 5 times x is 5x divided by 5. 5's cancel, so you get x. 5 times 2 is 10. And 5 times 8 is 40. Alright, then add the opposite. And you get x equals 50. Same thing. So you could do it a couple different ways. Alright, just remember you have to multiply all terms by 5 if you use the second technique. Alright, now the next one here, we got x divided by 6 plus 2.5 equals 10. I want to add the opposite of this first. Get your red pen out and let's add 2.5 to both sides. Excuse me, subtract 2.5 to both sides. I'm sorry. The opposite, or the inverse of adding is subtracting, so I have to subtract 2.5 on both sides. Okay, these cancel to 0, and you get x divided by 6 equals this. Let's do the side work over here. 10 minus 2 minus a half. 10 minus 2 is 8, but you still have to subtract a half, and 8 minus a half is 7.5. And then you have to do the inverse of divided by 6, and that is multiplying by 6. You can think of it as multiplying by the reciprocal as well. The reciprocal of 1/6, this is 1/6 right here, is 6. Alright, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. Okay, these cancel to 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1 usually. Alright, and then you got to multiply 7.5 by 6. And you can do it a couple different ways. Alright, in grade school they said change it to improper. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15. So you get 15 halves times 6. As I talked to you guys about, you can multiply first and get 90, and divide that by 2 to get 45, but it's a whole lot easier dividing first to get 3 here, times 15 to get 45. Or you can do it the fast way. You can go 6 times 7, 42, plus 6 times a half would be, well, you can write it as 42 and 6 halves if you like. But if you write it like that, you can't leave it like that. That's a mixed number, and this is 3. And 3 plus 42, this is 42 plus the 3 gives you 45. Okay? So the fast way is just multiply the whole number of the fraction by 6 to get 42 and 6 halves. 6 halves is 3 plus the 42 gives you 45. I thought that's one of those skills that I showed you. In fact, let's go to the skill sheet. It is the skill right here. When you're taking 5 times 3, 6, you multiply both by 5, and you get 15 and 5, 6. Or on the second one, number 5, it's more like number 5. Okay? Okay, now, this one here, moving on here to E. Okay, we've got 3y minus y plus 2 equals 3 2/3. You always want to combine like terms first. So 3y minus y is 2y plus 2 equals 3 2/3. You want to add the opposite here. The opposite of a plus 2 is a minus 2. Okay, and I get 2y equals, well, 3 minus 2 is 1, so I get 1 2/3. Now I have to multiply by the reciprocal again, so I got to multiply both sides by a half. You could divide it by 2 or multiply by 1/2. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal just to show you that technique. So times 1/2 times 1/2, and I get y is equal to whatever 1 2/3 times a half is. And that, my friends, is done over here on the side work. Okay? Whoa, what happened here? Hang on for a second. Okay, so let's handle this right over here. Let's do some side here work here. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, so you get 5/3 times a half, and that's 5/6. And so we get y equals 5/6 here. Okay, let me check that. Subtract 2, 1 2/3, divide by 2. 1 2/3 is 5/3 times a half. 5/6. Sounds good to me. Okay. All right, the last one. We've got 3/4 times 16p minus 12 is equal to -4. What we need to do here, guys, is distribute through twice, okay? We have to multiply both of these terms by 3/4. And so we write it as 3/4 times 16p minus, because there's a minus here, 3/4 times your second term equals -4. And as we talked about in class, in our skills sheet here, and let's go there. Let's look right here. We talked about the fastest way is dividing first and multiplying. All right, so let's do that. Let's divide here. 3 times 4 times p is 12p. Divide. 3 times 3 is 9. And you get 12p minus 9 equals -4. All right, add the opposite as we always do. And we get 12p is equal to 5. So 12p equals 5. Let's write it up here where I have some room. And then divide by 12 because that's the inverse of multiplying. All right, and that'll give me p is 5/12. Okay? So you got to step it out. Now what we want to do though is have you try it, and this is what we call the in-class practice here. So I want you to pause the video here and try the first one, and when you're done, press play and then watch me summarize it and use this as a pause and play. All right? Pause and play throughout the video or throughout these examples. Okay? Throughout these examples and test your understanding. And test understanding of the concepts. Okay, so pause the video, give it a shot. Okay, we're back now, so what I want to do is I want to check your work here, so let's take 1/2 x plus 1/8 and set the equal to 3/7, and let's step it out. We want to add the opposite first, so we want to add a -1/8 to both sides, or we can say subtract 1/8 on both sides. Okay, you always add or subtract first. So first, add, okay, or subtract, subtract. And then secondly, you either multiply or divide depending on what you're given here. So multiply or divide, or you can say multiply by the reciprocal. So multiply by the reciprocal, as I said before in my previous examples. So these opposites cancel. You get 1/2 x equals 3/7 minus 1/8. Let's do our side work over here, as we always do. And we're going to take 3/7 minus 1/8, and we're going to use the 3 product rule. Now, 3 product rule is right here. We start with the left cross product, and then minus the right cross product divided by the product of the denominators. Okay, so what I'm looking at is 3 times 8 minus 7 times 1. Okay, so 3 times 8, 24, minus 7 times 1, 7, divided by 7 times 8, 56, and I get 1756. So I write that down. And then I multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, watch me do that. I'm going to get my red pen. The reciprocal 1/2 is 2, so I multiply both sides by 2. Show my simplifying, and I get x equals this. Now you could write it as 3456. Or you can, look in blue now, you can divide both of these by 2 and simplify. Divide that by 2 to get 1, divide that by 2 to get 28, and you still get 17/28. Okay? 3456 becomes 17/28. You got to reduce or simplify your fraction. Okay? That's number 1. Now pause the video, try the second one. Try letter H. Okay, we're back now, and we want to check our work. So let's check 3y plus 2 and 4/7 equals to 12. Okay, the inverse of adding 2 and 4/7 is subtracting 2 and 4/7. So get your red pen out. Oh, actually, you already did this, so just check your work here. And you get 3y equals whatever this is. And again, let's do some side work. 12 minus 2 minus 4/7. From left to right, 12 minus 2 is 10, minus 4/7 drops you under 10, so you put down 9. And if you subtract 4 out of 7, then 3 out of 7 remain. So you have 9 and 3/7 here. Now you have a choice here. You can divide by 3 or multiply by 1/3. And either way is okay. So if you do it this way, divide by 3, this is the way it looks like. Or you could have multiplied by 1/3. Or multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1/3 here. Okay, so Show simplifying. Y equals this. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3/7 divided by 3 is 1/7. Okay, and you get your answer. Or take it over here. 7 times, or you take 9 and 3/7, all right, divided by 3. Change the improper first. So 7 times 9 is 63 plus that, plus 3 is 66. 66/7 times the reciprocal, 1/3, excuse me. Show simplifying, divide by 3, and you get 22/7, which is 3 1/7. Notice that's the same thing. Okay, so do your side work. Okay, show your side work all the time. Okay, pause the video, try this one here. Okay, we're back now, so I'm going to take 5 times the quantity x minus 2/5 equals 8. And most of you probably distributed, so I'll do that with you guys first. 5 times x is 5x, minus 5 times 2 is 10, divided by 5 is 2. 5's cancel, giving you 2 there, equals 8. You got to add the opposite of negative 2. You get 5x equals 10 now, and since 5 times 2 is 10, the answer better be 2. Okay? Now, there's another way to do it. So check this one out. You could do this. Let me rewrite the equation out. 5 times x minus 2/5 equals 8. This way is faster. Okay? So let me show you a faster way here. Alright, so check this out. Instead of distributing through the 5, well, do the inverse. The inverse of dividing or multiplying by 5 is dividing both sides by 5. So divide first and cancel that out. You get x minus 2/5 equals 8/5. You then simply add the opposite of 2/5. Okay, excuse me, add the opposite of negative 2/5 to both sides. And then you get x equals 8/5 plus 2/5, 10/5, which is 2. And notice that you get the same answer no matter which way you do it. But I think this is kind of a slick way to do it, and you might have just learned something there, because a lot of teachers don't show it this way. Most teachers just distribute through. But you got to be aware that you could divide first if you want. Just divide both sides by 5, cancel out that leading constant there, and then add the opposite next. Pretty cool. Okay, next one. Okay, pause the video and try J. Remember, there's a pause and play video. Okay, we're back now. We've got x divided by 5 minus 3 equals 3 1/7. Alright, and we have to add the opposite first. We can multiply it by 5 first if we wanted to, but I'm going to add the opposite first because I've been doing that throughout the lesson here, and it tends to be easier for most people. Okay, so you get x divided by 5 is equal to 3 plus 3 plus 3 1/7, which is obviously 6 1/7 because 3 plus 3 is 6 usually, especially today. All right, and then we got to do the inverse of divided by 5, and we should know the inverse of dividing is multiplying, so we got to multiply both sides by 5. Show the canceling. All right, and we've got x equals whatever this is. Now the fastest way to do it is using your skill sheet that I showed you. Now, I showed you guys how to take whole numbers times mixed numbers and just distribute through the number. Okay, so let's do it the fast way here. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 1/7 is 5/7, and you're done. Okay, really no trick there. Just use your skills. All right, that I taught you on the drill sheet. Okay, let's try this one here. Pause the video and give it a shot and distribute through the 1/2. All right, we're back now, and we want to distribute through. So 1/2 times 12y plus 6 equals 3. All right, we've got distribute twice here, and I got to multiply both terms by 1/2. So I got to take 1/2 times my first term plus 1/2 times my second term and set that equal to 3. And like on the skill sheet, I said down here that dividing is first and then multiplying afterwards is the fastest way. So divide first and then multiply the numerators. Easiest. So get your red pen. Here we go. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 1 times 6 times y is 6y. 12 divided by 2 is, 6 divided by 2 is 3. Times 1 is 3. And that equals 3. Okay, add the opposite. And you get 6y equals 0. Divide by 6, and you get y equals 0. Okay? There we go. Alright, then what I want you to do is turn the page and get started here. Alright, do this work here. Check your answers. So check answers. Alright, in instructor's notes. In instructor's notes online. Okay, in instructor's notes. Also, okay, the same thing, I want you to show all work in your spiral. So show all work, and I'm talking about the steps now, alright, in your spiral graph paper notebook. Alright, if you don't show me your work, I'm not going to sign this off. Alright, I will not sign this off unless the work is shown. Let me say that right here. I will not. Alright, sign off homework unless, okay, you show me your work. Unless you show me your work in your spiral. Just telling you in advance. Alright, so make sure that you do that. Alright, make yourself proud, work here, do all your work in your spiral, check my instructor's notes here, online of course, and I will see you tomorrow.